Here we are in August, and it's time for another garden update. So let's get out there and look at some stuff. Recently we had rain every day for almost a week, and before the rain started I wanted to pick some tomatoes so we wouldn't have as many that split. The 6 at the top are from our one Tasmanian chocolate plant, and they're all pretty nice tomatoes. Then we also had one Boronia and one Firebird Sweet. After checking again, I found a dwarf Mr. Snow tomato that had just started to ripen, and it was already split before the rain started. That was a sign of things to come, and sadly a lot of the dwarf Mr. Snow tomatoes split open before they even started to ripen. We harvested about a half dozen eggplants or so. This is just a look at 3 of them. The ones on the right, the 2 lighter colored ones, are ping tongue, and the other one's an ichiban. We have a simple eggplant recipe that we like to use, and if you want to check that out, I'll put a link down below. The long beans and the cucumbers that I planted where the Armenian cucumber used to be are growing pretty well. And the long beans are already to the top of the cage. The jicama is starting to climb pretty well, and it's starting to also get some lavender or purple flowers on it. And as I always mention, all parts of the plant above the ground are poisonous. The only part that's edible is the tuber below the ground. The Chrysanthemum Melon and the Cicada sweet melon are doing very well. They've climbed to the top of the cage now and are also sprawling out on the ground, and I just harvested our first ones recently. Here's a look at the first 3 melons that I harvested. I went ahead and recorded a video of the taste test that I did on the melons, and I'll be posting that in the future soon. This is a look at one of the chrysanthemum melons inside. And this is a look at the inside of one of the Cicadas sweet melon. They have a pretty thick wall. I don't know what's going on under the ground with the ubi purple yams, but above the ground they're growing very well. As I mentioned, it rained every day for almost a week, and that's a terrible time for your watermelons to be ripening, and this is what can happen. This one's split open. A while back I found a potato peeling that started to sprout in our compost pile, and I stuck it in this container just to see what would happen. I don't know if we'll get any potatoes, but it's growing pretty well so far. In one of our grow bags I have some ornamental peppers, and this is a look at the New Mex Easter ornamental peppers. And then right behind those we have some explosive ember, and those will turn orange and then red later on. I wanted to give you a look at our F2 black pearl hybrid peppers. These are a cross between a black pearl and an unknown pepper. And I'm going to try to do a video specifically on these peppers and give more detail, but I just wanted to give you a quick look at how some of them turned out. I grew 10 plants in all, and there was some variability, and I've chosen 2 plants to save peppers from for next year. I also have some F3 hybrid peppers that are a cross between an Oda sweet pepper, which is a purple pepper, and an unknown pepper that is hot. And I grew 13 of these, and there was quite a bit of variability, so I'll be doing a taste test and give you more details on these also. With all of the rain that we had recently, we finally started to have a little blight showing up in the garden, so I made the decision to remove a few plants. The dwarf Mr. Snow and the Firebird Sweet didn't have very many tomatoes on them, so I pulled those. And the Brandy Fred didn't have any tomatoes on it at any point, so I also got rid of that one. We still have the Tasmanian chocolate and the Boronia, which have plenty of tomatoes still. I did a little pruning on both of those plants, and I took a closer look at the Tasmanian chocolate, and I have at least 20 tomatoes at the top of the plant, which is outstanding. Here's a look at our 2 eggplants out in the garden, and these 2 will give us plenty of eggplants. We still have quite a few sunflowers that are scattered here and there in the garden. Some of them we planted and some of them the birds planted. We sometimes let the flowers stand and let the birds enjoy the seeds. Lately we've been seeing goldfinches and chickadees, but occasionally we see house finches and even cardinals on them. The Malabar spinach grows really well, and we don't eat enough of it to keep up with it, so it's about 8 feet tall now. I harvested some of our corn the other day. The dark red ear of corn that you see on the right is an ear of Japonica corn. And the other ears are from our ornamental popcorn that I've been working with for a few years. It's a hybrid that was a cross between a grocery store popcorn and some glass gem corn. Once the gardening season is over, later this fall, I'll test pop some of these and save seeds from the ones that pop the best. The tomatillos are loaded with flowers and little tomatillos that are starting to set on now. And we've got a little hummingbird that's been trying to pollinate our flowers for us. It's the second time this year that I've seen hummingbirds on the tomatillo, and this one went back several times while I was watching. This is the time of year when the hummingbirds start migrating through our area on their way south. After a very slow start, the Chinese python snake beans have made up for lost time. They're planted over by the fence in that cage, and they're already 3 cages over. And some of the beans get very long very quickly. We haven't tried to cook with any yet, but we have eaten one fresh, and it was probably about 15 inches long or so. And it was pretty tender and very mild. I wanted to show you one that kind of got away from me, and I can kind of see where they get the name python snake bean, because this one that's on the ground looks a little bit like a snake. This might look like a ripening pumpkin, but it's actually a royal golden watermelon, and they turn orange on the outside when they're ripe, much like a pumpkin looks. I just harvested a mountain yellow sweet watermelon, so if the royal golden watermelon ripens soon enough, I'll do a taste test of both of them. All of the long beans have been very productive this year, but the red noodle beans have been especially productive, and we're still getting lots of them. And because you can grow them vertically, you can produce a lot of food in a small space. I'm growing some hot peppers in containers. The first one here is Puma, and it's got some pretty dark foliage. Then we have Jigsaw, which has some variegated foliage. Then we have Apocalypse Scorpion, that's a really hot one. Then we got Death Spiral, another very hot one. Then 7-Pot Yellow, and also 7-Pot Chocolate. Then beside the peppers, I also have some ginger growing in a container. The banana trees are doing very well this year. I'm guessing that the Musa Bastiu is probably about 12 feet or more, and the Musa velutina is about 8 feet. A couple of days after I shot that last clip, I went out to check them, and the Musa velutina is producing a flower, which means we'll have bananas soon. And that'll be about a month earlier than last year. If you're just now finding this channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. We'll see you next time.